Over the past few years, there has been a lot of debate and discussion around whether eating meat is harmful for our health and harmful for the environment. On whatever side of the argument you land on, you're going to find studies, proof, research on the internet to prove you right, and this can be confusing, with all of the different information out there. So where I have landed on this is that I like to use common sense. I believe that it's a much more multi-layered discussion because not all farming is equal, and that is farming of animal products and also farming of the products that are used in packaged and processed vegan products, vegan food as well. So to me, these are the two important points. The first one is the source. So where does your food come from? Where does the meat come from? How were the animals treated and what were they fed? Because what they ate, we are going to eat when we eat meat. The second thing is our own individual physiology and our current health status as well. That can obviously dictate, what is going to suit us in terms of our own diet. Now, I have total respect for someone who has decided to follow a vegan lifestyle, for their own informed reasons. But I do have concerns with a vegan lifestyle being touted as the ideal diet, certainly for everyone. For example, vegans, people who are eating a vegan diet do need to be very careful about their B12 levels. So I have a previous podcast on that. So they would need to supplement with B12, and also they need to make sure that they're getting all 9 essential amino acids. And this isn't often talked about, when you do hear people who are promoting, a vegan diet. Now, of course, eating more plants is better, a more plant-based diet is certainly better for everyone. I mean, vegetables are amazing. The same principles to me need to apply to both. So whole, natural, animal or plant foods locally produced are the no-brainer, better choice for our health and also for the environment. I think whichever side of the argument you land on, that makes sense. In this episode, I'm delighted to be having a chat with Bronagh O'Rourke, who runs the Burren farm experience with her husband Cathal in County Clare. And for over 200 years, Cathal and his family, 5 generations of his family, have been caring for and farming in this unique part of Ireland. So it's a natural setting with lush grass meadows, and they're interlinked with bare limestone and dense hazel groves and cool lakes. And so it's a semi-wild space, and their cattle roam free and eat freely. So they're raised in a natural environment, and they have a good life, and this results in, in a better product, as well as more ethical and environmentally friendly products. So this landscape in this part of the Burren, which is a UNESCO global geopark, farmers have adapted to work in symbiosis with nature. So Bronagh not only loves nature and their animals, but she is a natural entrepreneur. So they're building a business based on their passion for nature and commitment to preserving their local landscape, never straying from their principles, which is admirable to say the least. In this chat, Bronagh tells us more about their farm, how their animals are reared, and also the other ways in which they're expanding their business. So Bronagh, it's great to chat to you this morning. And I know we've sort of had our own little chats about the benefits of grass-fed beef, so obviously we're going to chat a little bit more about it today, just to share our thoughts. But first of all, obviously you're originally a townie like me. And I was just wondering then, with your move down to the Burren with the lovely Cathal and your kids now as well, how was it transitioning from living in the town to living on this amazing farm?
Yeah, and a lot of people have said that to me. It's funny because, and I loved the town life at the time, and I grew up since I was 3. Before that, we had a farm, and then we were in Cavan town. And I loved it. People saw me on the bike. I was queen of the town. I was giving out leaflets. I was a busy little girl. And I never realised that I missed it. Now, all the time I would have helped different people around with horses and stuff like that. And I loved that. But until I moved back, I didn't know that I was missing something. And my dad died when I was 19. So my relationship with him was based on nature a lot. So we would go out and look after horses at my brother's place. And I didn't actually realize that a lot of the really important relationships in my life were about the really simple and the really basic things. And doing small jobs with your father in nature can be just such a nice and engaging thing. And when I moved down to the west first, we were living in a town and I didn't like it. And I was like, God, I hope my life is going to suit here. Because I moved down after my mother died, and it was the kind of thing that propelled me to change, to just look for something different and move. But yeah, town in that respect didn't suit me. So we moved out to our house in the Burren, which is a kilometre from the farm that we have. And for the first 5 days, it was weird. I said, I'm not moving. I didn't go shopping, and I would be literally in town every day. And my husband did kind of went for things, and I just really grounded myself and settled myself where I was. And I said it to him, I've never slept as well in my life, because the road we're on is very quiet. I had never really lived in proper darkness. I was always slightly afraid of it. So it really went way better than I thought, and I didn't give it much thought. I just let it happen naturally. Obviously, with building and that, everything takes time. And we were so excited to get into the house when we got into it. So it was a really, really brilliant experience. The kids settled immediately. Everybody, because my daughter she was 3, and she had been in and out of my bed as they do at that age. But she got her own room when we moved to the house. And everybody just seemed to really settle and ground themselves where we were. There was history in the house. We did a renovation on an old house, and everybody had their own space, and we've a field beside the house where the cattle are. So it just feels like it's where we're supposed to be. And it went really well. And now I love it. I do like to go to town as well, but I love the countryside. I love to have access to a walk without driving. I think that's a really lovely thing when you live somewhere where you can just go get the dog and go for a walk. Yeah. And I love just wandering around the farm as well. Different parts of the farm so we have a bit of woodland, we have the good land where the cattle are, and we have the Burren pavement, and they're all really different. So depending on my mood, you could find me sitting somewhere, depending on the mood. And we have a lake on the farm as well. So I could be at the lake, or I could be in the woods, or I could be on the rock. It just really depends on how I'm feeling at the time. Really, I still am a townie as well. I love to go to town. I pick up the kids go to school in Kinvara. So I love that chat with people. I think that's important as well. But I think really another part of why we moved out here was the option to bring up the kids in nature. So the kids they love going picking berries and doing different things. And I think in our way, when we grew up, we had our head and we had our independence. So there's nothing like sending the children down the field and just to look and draw or not draw or walk or run or whatever they want to do, but it's their own time. Because I suppose nowadays it's a lot of holding hands with children and not giving them the space. And I think to grow and develop, it's important that you understand your own head and you understand how to find things to do in a field, because there's not enough opportunity for boredom nowadays, and parents are filling those gaps with technology or with certain things that the children don't necessarily need, but we've got into a system where, well, everybody else's child is getting it, so we have to give it to ours. And for me, that's not the best option. I've always been slightly, I suppose, looking for something that suited myself. I don't tend to follow the crowd. I tend to look for my own best solution. And for me, with my children, the best solution is to give them a bit of both, to give them sport, to give them nature, and see where they fit with the whole thing. And they're individuals, obviously. So some of them love nature more than others. Some of them love soccer more than others. But I think to give them that choice it's a privilege to live here and for them to have the options of it.
Absolutely. It sounds idyllic. I've seen photographs of the farm on your website. I'll be putting a link to that in the show notes, and it is absolutely stunning. It really is gorgeous. So yeah, you're absolutely right. To be growing up in that environment is amazing, So obviously you have your animals all around you. So how, obviously we're talking about sort of grass-fed beef, So what is your approach to taking care of your animals, throughout their lifetime?
So we're really lucky that where we live is actually a geopark. So it's a UNESCO designated area. So the Burren, one of its major attributes is that we can outwinter our cattle. It's called winterage. So normally in areas, people would take cattle in for the winter. But in the Burren, we actually let them out at the end of October, and we let them graze the limestone pavement so that the flora and fauna come back the following spring. So
Wow.
the cattle are a very, very important part of the ecosystem here and part of the land management. We farm under a program called the Burren Program. And in that, we are scored how nature friendly and how many of the points that we said we would achieve that we actually did achieve. So did we clear scrub? Did we have the cattle out at the right time of year in order for the spring event and the biodiversity of the Burren to come back into place? And we really take that seriously. And this year for 2022, we've been nominated as Farming for Nature ambassadors. So obviously we must be doing something right. So
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely are. That's a great achievement, Bronagh. Absolutely brilliant. And you know, it's lovely to see nature working together, you know, like that. You know, obviously the cattle are important to the plants and to the Burren environment, you know. So you obviously encouraging all of that and supporting all of that with how you farm is super important.
it is. It's the whole basis of the business. I suppose Cathal's family and farmers in the Burren are they're doing it thousands of years, you know, and we're not doing anything uniquely special, but we're doing it properly and we're doing it with nature in mind. We have gone organic as well. So a lot of farmers in the Burren, they don't tend to finish the cattle. They sell them on before they're at a stage of finishing. And that's where, you know, cattle are getting fed grain, you know, and all those other things are fed. And during lockdown, I felt very strongly that we're doing this amazing job with the cattle, but then for the last 6 or 8 months, we're handing them on to somebody else to mess up the good job that we've done, basically. So I just said to my husband, well, look, you know, it's lockdown. We can't do any of the stuff that I wanted to do. So can we just try and finish some cattle and then try our own beef and see how it goes? And that's as simple as that. That's how it came about. We brought a heifer to the butcher, and we were lucky. We have a really good local butcher, and we tried it. And I was like, oh my God, that is unbelievable. The mince, it tastes amazing. Yeah. There's nothing in it. There's no water added. There's nothing to prolong its shelf life. So yeah, if mince doesn't last very long, so you either buy it and put it in the freezer or you use it. But we've got fantastic results. We've got really brilliant, amazing chefs. But for me, the best compliment I can get is that a mother, a person who's cooking for her family or a wife or whoever, just that customer comes back to me and says, oh my God, but I used the stew beef and it was like, it went further because I just added the veg and it tasted amazing. That's the best compliment I can get, regardless of what restaurant wants us or where it wants to go. For people to put a better quality beef into their shopping list is the best thing, because I don't agree with eating too much of one thing. I think if you eat smaller amounts of very good quality chicken, beef, whatever it is, vegetables, you're much better off. It should have lots of colour on it, and you should try and support local as well. I mean, no more than with the honey. A local honey is great for you, but trying to buy local for your beef and for your chicken and from your local veg farmer, and eggs as well. There's a lot of people selling eggs now. And it's the way we were meant to eat.
Yeah, absolutely. It's eating, maybe eating less meat. We certainly don't need to eat meat 3 times a day, but eating good quality meat, when we do, is really important, and supporting the local farmers, rather than buying meat that has been imported from thousands of miles away. Eating food that's produced closer to home and supporting those local farmers, local producers, supporting our own sort of local economy, and understanding that when you're buying grass-fed beef, that you're getting the benefit of the amazing nutrients that are in all of those plants and flowers and everything that are on, for example, the Burren. That's in what we're eating.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And you can taste it in the flavor. Like my kids even would notice now, you know, if they're going to somewhere or whatever, not that they're connoisseurs, but they were like, yeah, we had bolognese, but it didn't taste like your bolognese because, you know,
Yeah.
the mince just is different and you can really taste that. And I
Yeah.
totally agree, Lynn. You don't have to have meat 3 times a day.
Mm.
You really shouldn't anyway.
Exactly.
But just think a bit more consciously about what you're doing and why you're doing it. And is it good for who you're giving it to? You
Yeah.
know, you
Yeah.
are what you eat, really. That is so true. And
Yeah.
we can all have a treat the odd time and have different things. But I think
Absolutely.
if we're more balanced in our
Yeah.
approach to that, it will have beneficial effects for
Yeah.
everybody. And if we just think a bit more consciously about our local economy in our local area, like certainly I would go to town for certain things, but I will pop into the local people as much as I can, if at all possible, because we don't want our main streets to be covered in bookies and, you know, secondhand shops and all this. We need to keep those retailers there. So it goes for food, but it also goes for just supporting local as much as you can. And especially now coming up to Christmas, the small independent retailers are finding it difficult. Online has taken over. Like we sell our beef online and we've loads of great customers that come back every year and they might buy a box for their family in Ireland for Christmas. There might be a win. It's a lovely present to buy. But I think if you can just drop into your local retailer that you know probably, say hello, have a nice little conversation, and just support them as much as you can. That's an important part of the message as well.
It is, and it's you said it earlier. It's about the social connection as well.
Yeah.
And keeping that sense of community going, you know. You attend local markets as well, Bronagh, so I'm sure you're connected to a lot of local producers of all types of produce, of food, you know, so I'm sure that they appreciate support from their community as well.
Totally. And like we do a picnic on the farm, I have local cheese. We try and use the local bread. We've lovely bread maker locally to us. And we would use local veg as well, or organic veg. So it is about working with your neighbour and trying to kind of reinforce that camaraderie between different businesses, because nobody works in isolation. You know, we all need other things. For me, it's all about that connection. And I've made so many brilliant contacts with doing markets locally, with calling into local restaurants. And, you know, it's the chat and it's that conversation that will get something going. And then all of a sudden you have a new thing that you didn't expect. I'm part of a women in business network, and we've a lovely, you know, we've a WhatsApp group, and we get to have that conversation. And who knows what it'll lead to, but I think that there's definitely scope for more engagement, and the local message needs to be really reiterated this year, because people are finding it tough, but we need to support our own and to try and get that message out there. As much as we did 2 years ago, we were so good that Christmas, when lockdown was on, everybody was buying local. And I think it's starting to quieten down a small bit. We need to really get that going again.
We do. I think what happens is that people get busy again and it's not as convenient, you know. So but the only, you know, we do need to make it a priority and make it a focus where, you know, as much as we can support those local producers and local markets. And better quality food leads to better quality health as well.
Exactly. Like when we started the business first, I did a lot of work on why is it different? Why is eating grass-fed beef and organic beef more healthy for you? And it has been proven, you know, they're higher in the omega-3s and the essential fatty acids that we require. And I think it's really important from a developmental point of view for children as well, that we look at the requirements that they have and not leave anything out. You know, your choice might be vegan or vegetarian, but to automatically put that onto a child, I think is a dangerous message. We do events on the farm, and I had a little boy who was lovely. He was 12 years old, but he had been fed the message of cattle in a field is dangerous and is bad for the environment. And I was really hit by how he felt so strongly about this. And I explained it to him, and he understood, you know, by the end that actually they're actually part of the biodiversity of the area. They need to graze the land. We need to see sheep and cattle on our land. That's really important. And I'm no big believer in feedlots and all these big things, but when farming is done properly and, you know, we're organic and we don't have a huge amount of cattle on the land and we look after them properly, and they have a much healthier life with us because they live on different types of land, but also they live for longer. So we keep them till they're 3 years old. So, you know, they have a healthier, longer life with us. So that's really important. And when you're making choices, just think about that. Just think about the welfare of the animal while it was alive. Was it looked after properly? Was it able to roam freely? And that's the important thing.
That is the important thing, that people, you know, are different, are differentiating between cattle who are brought up and who live in a totally different environment to the one that you're providing your cattle, you know, the end product. And obviously in terms of ethics, you know, if you do care about the animals and care about how they live, you know, there is a differentiation between that type of red meat and your type of beef as well. Just the other thing there, when I say red meat, a lot of people think red meat is beef, but red meat, actually, that term covers pork, lamb, processed meats as well, you know, like rashers and sausages and everything, you know. So sometimes everything can get bundled in, you know. So I think, you know, definitely we need to say, you know, we're talking about grass-fed beef here, you know, and obviously it's all about proportion, plate proportion, and balance, as you mentioned as well, balance on your plate. Just in terms of your organic journey, Bronagh, was that does it take long to sort of turn around to being approved or certified as organic?
So we started on the organic journey in April last year. We basically were there. It was funny, my husband had to do a course, so he went off to Leitrim to do his organics course, and he came home and he was like, that was so interesting. He said, the people I met, the stuff we're doing is basically organic anyway. The farm suits it so much because we have a lot of area, but we have the rock, obviously, and we've forestry and we've good land. So we were really lucky. The shed that we have suits. We don't have the animals in the shed very often at all, unless there's something and it's really bad weather. But we were really lucky that we didn't have to do very much. But when he got home, he said, you know, my dad could have given that course, but he didn't have all the terminology that they're using. And I just thought, well, that just really shows that we are doing something right, and that the farming practices that they've had in the Burren for thousands of years are actually the way forward and the way to go. And I think it's a pity for society that we have to have that brand on it, because there's so many people that aren't ethical in what they do. And so it wouldn't be enough for us to say that the beef came from the Burren and we are genuinely doing this, because you don't know who else is going to say that behind you, and they mightn't be as honest as you're being. So I think that's a bit of a pity. But it's certainly for us, because we sell the beef, it's definitely worth making some of the changes we have to make. We have to reduce our cattle numbers, which, to be honest, we weren't overstocked anyway, so we didn't have to do a lot of reduction. It affects, we didn't previously have calves on the farm. We bought calves and then reared them, but now we're going into a system where our heifers will have calves. So it'll change things a small bit for us, but I think in general it'll be worthwhile. There's one problem with the whole organic thing I have, is that they say in the organic system that your butcher has to be organic. So the cattle are reared on a farm, they're fed only what we can feed them, they live on the grass, they're kept for longer, they're fertilizer free, we don't use anything on the land, we don't give them any antibiotics or anything like that. But they say that your butcher has to be organic. For a butcher to be organic, it's huge changes for him, and it's probably a very expensive process. And he doesn't actually physically do anything with the meat. All he's doing is putting it into packs. But we can't use an organic stamp with the butcher we have at the moment. And we love our butcher. He's spotlessly clean. He's super at what he does, because that is an art in itself, butchery. So hopefully he will change and become an organic butcher, or else we'll have to look for somebody else, which I really don't want to have to do. So that's my one problem with it, and I actually have been talking to the minister about that anyway, because it's it's one of these points of law that doesn't make any sense. And I suppose we're always coming up against bureaucracy in some shape or form. But this is one thing that I have an issue with, because it doesn't change the product at all in any way. It doesn't change the integrity of the product. It doesn't change the way we sell it. I don't know if I'd mentioned before, but we sell all our beef fresh, so it's never frozen. A lot of other beef producers sell boxes of frozen beef. For me to sell it with whole heart and my stamp of approval on it, you need to see the beef. You need to see the marbling. You need to see what it looks like, and then you can put it in the freezer. But I feel happier that people can see that. They can see the fat content. They can see the marbling. They can see the colour of the beef. Because if you compare the colour of our beef to when you're walking around your supermarket or wherever you go, there's a huge difference.
Huge difference.
Yeah.
Like
there really is.
Yeah. So I can attest to that. You know, we've had a couple of boxes so far, and definitely the color, the just the taste, you know, how tender it is. There is no comparison. But you're so transparent about what you do on the farm, you know, that even without that organic certification, you know, I think, you know, any customer can be satisfied that as far as ethics go and as far as quality goes, you know, there's no doubt about that. And you're doing tours as well, Bronagh, and agri-camping on the farm.
We are.
Yeah.
I suppose I'm a woman of creativity and
lots of ideas.
Yeah. I'm like a magpie. Sometimes I can fly in too many directions and be a sparkly thing. But the agri-camping came about because lockdown, I suppose we were in that year where we were told we can go around the island, but we can't leave. We can't fly anywhere.
Yeah.
So I just, in the March, I think, decided to get on to a friend of mine who does tents. And I said, we're going to do camping, but I'm going to call it agri-camping, so people can have a look around the farm, engage with their family and their children in nature. And it's worked brilliantly. We've a lot of repeat customers that come back every year. We're not at it that long, but it's something that works really well within the space that we have. And I think people that don't have space really appreciate that. I'll tell you who worked really well for was groups. So with your maybe sister or your family and their kids. So we have 4 bell tents. Each tent will hold 5. One of them holds 8 people. So it's nice for a mixture of people. There's a lake, and then there's walks on the farm you can do. Obviously, we're in the Burren, so you have other attractions. You can go to the Cliffs of Moher, or you can go to Doolin, or lots of different areas. So from that reason, and if you just want, we have some groups that just are like, look, we don't get privacy like this everywhere. We're going to stay around the campfire. The kids can wander around, have a bit of fun, pick some berries, and just really enjoy it. So yeah, it's worked really well. The tours, that was my brainchild when I started. So I just felt that there was no really authentic experience for people to see what farming is about. So it's more for Americans in the international market to get a look at, I suppose, how we farm in the Burren, because it is very different. But I didn't want to be put into a bracket of a pet farm. And I'm always very explicit that we don't have horses or donkeys or llamas or pigs or anything else. When you come to us, it's a 3-hour experience. It's a safari style. So suppose it's an Irish safari where you off up the land with us. We do small groups and some bigger groups. So the bigger groups walk the tour, and the smaller groups get a foodie experience as well. So whether it's a picnic, we have 3 national monuments on the land. So we have a pre-famine village with 7 dwelling houses. They're kind of up to like ruins, up to your elbow. So we go in there and we have a foodie experience picnic. We have a round field on the land, and it dates back 1,000 years. So the foundation stones are still in that. And if you look from an aerial view, it has that shape. And there's a souterrain underneath that field. And Cathal was found in it when he was 5. So we haven't reopened it yet, but we do want to. Yeah. And then we have an old chapel on the land, Shantafubble Chapel. No and it way. Was actually the very centre of Kilkeedy Parish. And when you go into that space, it feels really special, like it's a rectangular building. And you can see the altar stone at the back. But it's just the feeling, the poignant feeling in it.
That's amazing.
You'll have to come down and take a look.
Oh, definitely. We're definitely planning that for sure.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And it's what's lovely about it too is that you're bringing your experience with your dad on the farm. You know, that I'm sure, informed your ideas, you know, and how
Yeah.
you knew how that, you know, how, what a good experience families were going to have just being out in nature together and spending that time together.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
I think
lovely.
it is amazing when you strip the things away. Like
Yeah.
I bring the kids down camping during the summer, but when you see people that haven't done it or that don't do it very often, and I say turn off the lights at the house and just look at the sky, and you have the campfire going, and you're looking, lying on a bench or lying on the grass and looking up, and you're look, you know, and it's just that real special time, and I can guarantee your kids will remember that, or when you stood in cow poo, more
Yeah,
than they'll remember the
exactly.
Xbox that you bought them one Christmas, you know?
Without a doubt.
It's,
Without a doubt. And I think experiences like that bring you back into the present moment, which is what everybody's trying to do these days. You know, it's all your five senses are, you know, are being utilized, and you're actually present, you know, with your family or with your friends, you know, with your group. So it's absolutely fantastic. And you had a well-known TV presenter on your farm recently, Julia Bradbury. So
yeah,
she
we
was
did.
raving about it.
Oh, she loved it. She's lovely. She lives in London, like, so life would be very different. But Julia, I suppose, does love nature. So she's one of those people that I could connect with immediately. And so I knew she'd like it when she saw it, but she was blown away. She's like, this is just unbelievable. You live here and your animals are, you know, helping the biodiversity of the area. And we don't take away, like, we don't say, if it's a really hot day, the cattle go into the old chapel for shelter because it's all overgrown with hazel and stuff like that. And that's important. So I won't say to her, well, just because you're coming now, this won't be available to the cattle because you want to come in. So
Yeah.
she was blown away by that, you know, you could go very commercial on it and do this, this, and this. And me and Cathal wouldn't do certain things and you'd have somebody else doing it. But that's not what we want. We're trying to have something that's really special. It's not for everybody, but it's for people who really want to engage with nature. And for me, as an outsider coming in, I suppose I was blown away by the different views from different areas of the farm. And I was aware that sometimes when you come to the Burren, it's very geological because it is limestone and it is rock. But I wanted to bring the point across about heritage, geology, farming, and knit all those together. So when you come and your kids are here, or we get lots of Americans and it's all like adults, there's no children, but they love it and they spend 3 hours and they're engaging with you and they understand how you manage to change your views from the 9 to 5 everyday graft to want to do something special so that you've got, I suppose, a bit of a legacy to leave, like, and please God, the kids will take it on, or, you know, you don't know what's down the line, but I think I can be happy knowing that I started something authentic and I gave them an option anyway, whether they want to do it or not. But it will be a nice thing to keep going, even if they wanted to change it with photography or with yoga or with different offerings on it. I think there's loads of scope for the future, and that's why there's never a dull moment here. You know,
Can
I'm
imagine.
kind of like on, oh, do I want to do something here with, you know, with, I did a forest bathing course last year because that whole area I'm interested in. And I'm always doing courses and I'm always open to new ideas. I think nature art therapy is a really interesting one as well. But from the point of view of really good food, just connecting with people around a campfire and around a meal is even a super thing. It's a good connector and it's brilliant for children. So yeah.
Great. Well, I can't overstate how impressed I am by what you've done down there, you know, yourself and Cathal. And I really admire what you're doing from every angle. You know, obviously you're running a business, which is your passion, which is really, you know, the goal, isn't it? You know, that's what we all want to be doing, something that we feel like we're contributing, we're, as you said, leaving a legacy, you know, doing something that's important and helpful. And part of the community. I'm sure the community around you is benefiting from what you're doing as well, So, honestly, Bronagh, it's so impressive, and well done. And definitely we're coming down soon. I can't wait to see all of those places that you have that you've described.
That's lovely. And look, don't get me wrong, farming is a difficult life, and there obviously is bad days, and you have to do things that you don't want to do, and it's teeming rain. But I think in general, to know that you're doing something worthwhile and something that is good outweighs all the negative parts about it. And to see people that are blown away by it, like I love that, people coming and you did that and you did that, and some things are hard and some things are easy, and some things come naturally and some things don't, so they take longer to work on.
But it's about believing in what you're doing.
Yeah.
And so I'm not surprised that you've been selected as an ambassador. So no bother to you. I'm sure you do a fantastic job with that, and can talk away to any of the ministers and anybody that needs persuading or whatever, So no problem to you. Good woman.
Thanks a million, Lynn. It was great talking to you.
You too.
I'm delighted to spread the message, because I do think that people's nutrition is so important, and unfortunately, because it's a bill that we have every week, we do cut it sometimes when we're struggling, but I think cut it in the right areas.
Exactly,
and just, being more strict, not strict, but less snacking and more kind of eating the right foods at the right time is the way to go from a nutrition point of view as well. So I look forward to seeing all your tips on social media as well. I think it's brilliant.
That's great. Thank you. My thanks again to Bronagh for her time, and I loved hearing all about life down on the farm in the Burren. So when it comes to grass-fed beef, really, why is it so much superior to grain-fed beef? And you heard Bronagh mention that they finish their cattle off themselves on the farm. So right up to the end, the cows are eating, the grasses and the plants on the Burren. So grass-fed beef has fewer calories, so it's lower in total fat content, because the diet is more natural and clean than cows who are eating grains. So there's less unhealthy fats. It also helps to support healthy blood sugar levels, and this is because beef from grass-fed cows contains a fatty acid called CLA, or conjugated linoleic acid, and this can help prevent several diseases and conditions like obesity and diabetes. And also it is a naturally occurring anti-carcinogenic, so it can help reduce the risk of cancer, and it's one of the only anti-cancer nutrients derived from meat. Now I'll put some links to some articles in the show notes as well, in case you'd like to read more about that. Now, grass-fed beef contains electrolytes. It also contains more omega-3, so about 6 times more omega-3, or up to 6 times more omega-3 than grain-fed beef. And omega-3 is an amazing anti-inflammatory. So the inflammation can be at the root cause of many diseases. So reducing inflammation through our diet is key in order to remain healthy. It's also really good for the brain, so in many ways, but even helping with things like focus. Grass-fed beef contains vitamin E, which is a really good antioxidant. So remember, it helps to avoid oxidation or damage to our cells from free radicals. And it has a lower amount of bad cholesterol, or that LDL cholesterol. It is a super source of protein, so it's got all of our essential amino acids, which we can't produce ourselves, and which are so important for repair and renew. So of course, all of these benefits are as part of an overall healthy, balanced diet. For most people, a plate should look like about a quarter protein, quarter carbs, half vegetables, but of course, we're all different, and some people may have different requirements if they're very athletic, if they're competing, if they have certain health issues going on. So that is a general guideline, but again, we don't depend on one nutrient to keep us well. It's always got to be part of an overall healthy, balanced diet. So for this episode's store cupboard staple, I thought we'd stick with a herb which can actually complement beef when you're cooking it. Several do, but today we're going to talk about thyme. And obviously it's great to have it fresh if you can grow it yourself. It's not too hard to grow, or dried. Dried is very convenient as well, especially through the winter. So thyme actually contains, it always amazes me when I look at herbs, which traditionally you might think of as just pure garnishes, but a small amount of herbs can really pack a punch. And thyme contains nutrients including vitamin C, iron, magnesium, calcium, potassium, vitamin B6, vitamin A, so all nutrients that are really good for our immune system, for our blood, for our bones and our muscles and our heart. So then when it comes to what we can use it for, really good in stews, really good with roast meats, really good even in a bolognese sauce. So I would add a little teaspoon of mixed herbs into a bolognese sauce as well. You can use it if you want to make a nice herbed butter. It's really good in a tea. So you can make a tea by pouring 8 ounces of boiling water over 2 or 3 sprigs of fresh thyme and just let it steep for 10 to 15 minutes. And this can ease your mood and also ease an upset stomach. It can also help to make a cough more productive. So we say you're trying to get up some mucus, a thyme tea can be good for that and for easing congestion. So you could do a steam thyme facial, and that would help with congestion as well, and just again make those coughs more productive. So actually another thing that it is a natural moth repellent. So you can place a few sprigs in your dresser drawers if you have any issues with those. So a really good little herb to have in the press. And again, I say in the press, but really when we have these things somewhere where we can see them, we tend to use them more. So get yourself a little, herb shelf or whatever beside your cooker and use away. And again, we only need small amounts in order to get some fantastic health benefits from fantastic herbs.